And then it says in Revelation 14, it talks about this gathering again. It says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts, and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. And then it goes on to describe what the redeemed would look like. And listen to what it says. And by the way, whether the 144,000 is literal or whether it's symbolic, that's not the important piece. What's important is, do you have the character? Because if you have the character, whether it's symbolic, you can be one, or if it's literal, you could be one. But what is the character? Listen to the character. First thing it says, these are they which are not defiled with women, for they are virgins. Now, this is not talking about a married man who can't now be 144,000 because he's no longer a virgin. A woman in Bible prophecy was a symbol of a false church or a true church. And so when it says these are not defiled with women, they're not defiled with false doctrines. They know what they believe. Their belief system is pure. They're standing and living out all the principles of God's doctrines in his word. All of them. God's going to have a people that are going to stand pure in front of him without sin, without a mediator. And so it says this 144,000, it says, first of all, it says they have a pure faith. And then it goes on to say, these, for they are virgins. And then it says, this is what makes them so pure. These are they, read it with me. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruit unto God and to the what? To the Lamb. And so I said, wait a minute, what made them different? They didn't follow their father. They didn't follow their mother. They didn't follow their wife. They didn't follow their husband. They followed the Lamb. They followed Christ wherever God led. They didn't come up with their own ideas. Lord, what do you have for me to do today? Remember Mother Thomas? What she said last week? She said, I get up in the morning, I say, Lord, who can I touch with the gospel today? Lead me to somebody I could witness to. Brothers and sisters, we're so concerned with the cares of this life. We're walking by people every single day who are lost. And some of them end up breathing their last breath that day. And you could have given them a word, not only to extend their life, but possibly a word that could have given them eternal life. And then it goes on to talk about this. It says, these are they which are not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruit unto God, unto the Lamb. And in their mouth there was no gossip. There was no cheap talk. There was no frivolous conversations. They weren't sitting around thinking about the football game. They weren't thinking about the basketball game. They weren't thinking about what different celebrities were doing. They weren't thinking about earthly things. It says there was no guile in their mouth, for they were without fault before the throne of God. Does this not go along with what James says? He that learns how to control his tongue is what? A perfect man. So really we could stop right here and you can just say to yourself, okay, right now, based on this description, would I fit when it comes to being considered the remnant that Joel just said? Joel just said there's a remnant, and the remnant has a certain diet. He said there's a remnant, and the remnant is praying, agonizing, and pleading. And by the way, they're sounding a trumpet with a clarion call that's unique. Then John comes back and says, listen, they're pure. Is your faith pure? Do you even know what you really believe as a Seventh-day Adventist? Do you even know what you really believe? Do you understand the principles of God's church? Can you regurgitate? Can you regurgitate them? Can you teach them? Can you instruct people? Do you have a working knowledge of what the truth is, the distinct message that God has given us to give to the world. Many of us don't know. We think we know. And by the way, if you've been sitting under the neo-Pentecostal music that was prophesied that would come into our church and run the angels out, that was prophesied over 100 years ago, we were told that all this dancing and shouting and drums would come into our church. And it said those who sit under it will not know what they formerly believed as Seventh-day Adventists. Do you not see it? You don't see prophecy right before you? It goes on to say the senses would be shocked and they would make unsound decisions. Do you see it? As much as I love you, when we make decisions that have been made, that has crippled us, and you back up and say, who in the world's idea was that? It says when you're involved in false worship, your natural mind cannot operate. You're under confusion. Why? Because your father, the devil, only breathes confusion. There's no system about him.